Welcome to Game Devs Play Games, everybody. And today we are playing Stasis.
We're playing Stasis.
And it's really crazy. When I first heard about this game, it was only like a week or two ago, and I totally just missed the Kickstarter 100%. I didn't even know it happened. And I saw a trailer for it, and I was like, holy hell, I need to get my hands on this now. And got my hands on a press build.
Press build. We're special.
Yeah, well, you know. That's what happens when you're a big shot in the industry, right? Right? 133 subscribers.
I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know that.
So, if you don't know what this game is, you will quickly see it's a top-down, well, three-quarters turn, kind of like the isometric sort of feel from... Well, maybe isometric's not a good way to describe it, but it's top-down. It's a point-and-click adventure, and it's a horror game. It's developed by The Brotherhood, which literally is two guys that developed this game, and I believe they have a third person that marketed the game for them, which... I mean, you can even kind of see in this intro cutscene just like how phenomenal the graphics are going to be in this. And for a studio of two guys,
that's very impressive.
It's super impressive. That was what kind of blew my mind with this one, was that these graphics kind of are equivalent to sort of what we would expect in AAA titles of maybe like 3 or 4 years ago. So they're not as crazy like 60 FPS that we get nowadays, but it's also just it blows most other indie games kind of out of the water as far as graphics are concerned.
Aesthetically too, it's pretty pleasant. I will say it's going to be really funny if this game turns out to, like, while we're actually playing it, the graphics are terrible and choppy and like super buggy, and it turns out that it's just three guys who made a movie. And
that would be kind of funny. I did play a little bit of this already, and the in-game graphics aren't as good, but they're still pretty awesome. But these cutscenes are very nicely rendered.
Man.
Yeah, well, that's the benefit of pre-rendered graphics. So if you didn't notice, the main ship that I don't know if we start on the main ship or not, but it's towing this giant thing behind it. So something weird must have happened, and obviously whatever's happening in this ship is either the place where bad stuff happened or where the bad stuff came from.
Yeah. I was actually going to say the intro right away aesthetically fits what the game should feel like. It's a horror film already. We can tell because obviously the ambience, the music,
even the little radio.
Yeah. And then the actual cut, the shot itself of that ship slowly
creeping through the fog of space. Fog of space.
The fog.
Sort of atmosphere. Maybe there's just atmosphere from the planet nearby.
It's Neptune, so.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's fair.
Something's happening.
Cryotubes. If you notice, the guy on the right is died already. Like proper just skeleton. So, I mean, that kind of tells you that we've been here for a long time, and it kind of says it without saying anything at all, but, bodies don't decompose that quickly, especially in a cryotube that's meant to preserve you.
Yeah, I was actually going to say, I don't know if that would actually happen.
Probably not. I mean... scientific accuracy aside, it's delivering a message.
It's a space horror game. We're not really too worried about it. All right.
So this is us.
Definitely go talk to the skeleton guy.
Welcome to the Game Corporation Stasis Plug Suit. Please hold still while your biometric scans are completed.
Yeah.
Basically going to tell us that our muscles are atrophied, we've got broken ribs, our heart is close to failure. If we move too much, we'll probably die.
Oh, well, then stand in position.
It was funny, I was watching a Let's Play of the alpha version of this game that came out a while ago, and the two YouTubers were, they were talking about, like, well, that's probably... we look pretty good for being in a one of those cryo chambers for so long. They must have fixed, the problem of muscle atrophy and all that stuff. And then as soon as it went through that diagnostic, they were like, Oh, they didn't fix anything.
I will say right off the bat, I feel like it might have taken a little bit too long to get past that opening scene with the robot talking.
Yeah, I agree. I think a lot of it was a little unnecessary. Maybe this is where I want to go. Simply because, maybe they wanted to explain, like, hey, you are not in good shape, and we need to make sure you understand that.
Mm-hmm. I think right there, instead of were you able to move during that? Like, he said stay put, but were you able to move?
No, I didn't even have the cursor on the screen.
Oh, internal monologue? Yeah.
Unless he's trying to talk to the robot, but... So, there is a lot of really, really awesome voice acting in this game. And the effects that they have on the voices are shit. So this, real quick, this is kind of an interesting... No, I didn't want to go back through. This is an interesting point of design. We've talked about this in some of the other games, but... and I'm not saying they did anything wrong necessarily, but like... So we exited up into the left, and so of course... we want to maintain that orientation in the next scene. Mm-hmm. But there actually still is confusion here because this area is almost highlighted when we see this new scene, and this doesn't even look like we can necessarily traverse it. Maybe it's like, part of a ceiling or something. So
artistically, it literally looks like we shouldn't be able to go that way.
Yeah, exactly. It's this this block right here, like this wall kind of reaches into this wall, so it looks like it doesn't connect. It's simply because we don't see the flooring. So when I first played it, it actually caused me to walk back here because I was like, oh, maybe they just messed with the orientation. Maybe this is where I need to go. And, I was wrong. And I just didn't happen to see it.
So tell me about the controls. I noticed you're obviously clicking, but...
You click to move. I don't think there's any difference between left and right clicking. Anything that you would look at, you can click it and you'll move to it, but you don't actually do anything, and you can see that there's an eyeball next to the cursor. Mm-hmm. The really, really cool thing is I don't actually have to move up to it in order to see that description text at the middle of the screen here at the bottom.
Okay, good.
So that actually is really smart in terms of time efficiency, because I can look at stuff and see, like, okay, there's an eye. I know I don't need to move over there in order to do anything because I can't interact with it, but I can still learn a thing by reading the description text. So that's actually something in their UI that I appreciate a lot. And you'll see, now that we're in a room where we can interact with stuff, we're presented with a hand anytime we can actually poke a button. And I think there's a couple of other types of icons that pop up, but I'm not too familiar with them yet. Oh, the little spinny arrow means you're going to move to a new area.
Gotcha. So would you classify this as a click-in point horror adventure?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I said when we started the episode.
Oh, I don't remember. I don't.
Yeah, this is
like I pay attention to
this. This is a clicking point.
All right.
I muddled my words saying a lot of things like 3/4 turn, isometric, top down, and backtrack.
You're doing it again. I want to tune you out again.
So here's something interesting. We look at this panel and it says product storage, mm-hmm. but when we actually look at it, the products are people.
Oh, nice.
One of which I believe is us. We might be... Oh, maybe we're not on here. I think our name is John. I don't know if we need to read stuff. I remember when I read through that earlier, it didn't do too much, but if we get to that point, we'll start spending a little bit more time to read. But for episode 1, at least, I want to make sure we get to some of the goods.
Get to the good stuff.
Nathan's having a hard time looking at our timer to see if we have enough time.
I have no idea how your phone functions, man.
Yeah, we need to get a timer for this room. I used to use our recording computer, but then I decided to hide it underneath the table so that the fan isn't heard as much. So suddenly I needed a solution. Oh, okay, so we can't go through here because we don't have an ID card, which is basically like, hey, you're not ready to go here yet with your atrophied muscles and weak heart. There is at some point a method of running just to put that out there. We're only moving slowly because our character's in critical health, which I don't know if they needed to make him move so slowly.
I mean,
also,
they could actually use it to cater to the scene. If for instance there was a moment of suspense and yet your character is still moving slowly, that would drive that moment, right?
I think the real disadvantage is that we had to traverse through 4 rooms, and they weren't necessarily tiny rooms either. Listen to this voice. I love it. It's such an awesome, gritty, just disgusting robot voice, and it's perfect in every way. So this took me a little bit to figure out, but when you first go here, you kind of poke a bunch of buttons around and you go, okay, that doesn't do anything. And being, American, most of us are going to start left and move our way right until we finally hit one. And then we see, oh, okay, so there's a few things going on here. And it's kind of left to us to figure out what order we should do things. Because we can only activate two of these at a time. This is literally main power and then one function. So we can say, like, okay, robotic surgeon, maybe we need that because we've got broken ribs and we're not looking too good. We've got the life support, which is probably for, air and things in the station. And then we have the dock mate scanner. It's like, okay, well, I don't know what that means, but it sounds like doctor and it's a scanner, so probably is going to tell us what's wrong with us. That's basically my deduction when I first did this.
No, that makes sense. It's allowing you to play out the scene in the setting. Interesting to pick up, though, that you had to start from the right and to the left.
Yeah, I wonder if they wanted you to push buttons and think that things weren't working until you found the one that did turn on. I don't know if I agree with it because it seems counterintuitive, right? Mm-hmm. And I feel like a lot of players are going to push the first 2, maybe even 3 buttons and then be like, well, this doesn't do anything. Guess I better go find the power and turn it on.
We actually had this discussion, or something similar to this, when we were going through, what was that, Troll game, or whatever?
Troll Song?
Troll Song. And it was the idea of how a lot of click and point adventures, they don't really care how long it takes you to solve something because it's not about time, it's about the experience. Mm-hmm. However, a lot of players are taken out of that experience when they have to go through so much trial and error. And that's just one of those examples where that could have been an issue. Luckily, there were only 4 buttons to press. And it wasn't like...
And the mechanic was simple, too. It's not
simple,
like you're doing some crazy thing. Not like combining 2 things that probably could have just been combined to begin with. But, well, here's probably the reason why they didn't combine them is to show you that, hey, you have an empty syringe and the medical fluid. Combine these and now you can heal yourself to show you that, hey, you can combine things.
That makes sense.
So it becomes a necessary step in the tutorial to teach you.
It's a natural step of the tutorial, mm-hmm. Right, yeah.
And I would say it's good tutorial design simply because it doesn't need to tell you. It just sets it up so that you can assume that it needs to be done.
Well, I'll have a good talk to Sandy's parents.
But is it true?
Becca, don't worry, you won't have any dreams for the entire trip. But if you do, just squeeze Teddy, and I promise they'll go away. Now legs up, lay down.
That's what I do.
That is kind of creepy, though.
There you go.
I would say first time I put my kid into cryo, I'm going to be a little worried. Even if scientifically...
I like that you say when, also.
Oh, yeah. I mean, my kid has to live long enough so when I am reincarnated, I can be like, yo, what's up? Give him a high five.
So, something interesting... not to talk too much over this scene, but in the alpha, this scene didn't happen. Instead, when you inject that fluid in you, you actually go through a series of violent imagery and very horror-ish kind of feeling, and you wake up and you're just kind of like, Oh God, what did I just do to myself?
So do you think that it's a little random, or is it they just changed the scene?
I think they changed it because this is giving us a little bit of exposition.
Yeah, which is important because right now, before this, all we knew is this guy's name is John and his life sucks.
But now we know we have presumably a wife and we have a daughter. And, you know, if we're going to sing to her, if we're going to sing goodnight to her, that means we definitely love our family. So it gives us, and even I like that they really make sure that we sit through and we listen to this whole experience, because if they want the player to feel a connection to these people that your character is probably going to be freaking out about during the game, you got to have these moments to where you understand why he loves them. You know, I don't know if it works yet, but I like this scene for what it is.
Seemed a little more comforting than you'll be in a drug-induced coma.
We are almost done here. Do I get a teddy?
You get a hug.
Duh.
I like how she says it so seductively. You get a hug. Oh, all right.
Rebecca?
Yeah. Turns out we're just napping on the floor.
My child.
That's what I would do.
This is why you don't do drugs, kids. That's funny. In an older episode, I think I yelled at Cujo for calling our audience kids, because, you know, what if they're not all kids? Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that's the end of the episode. It's definitely the end of the episode.
Yep.
I let this one go a little long because, you know, we have a lot of story to do, but yeah, stay tuned. I'm excited to play through this game. I think at some point in the next episode, we're going to get to the point where I haven't played anything, and we're going to be learning things together.
Oh, man.
Oh, man.
Well,
But until then,
see you in the archives.
see you in the archives.